This isn't therapy, it's a reckoning for the men who've been lied to about love and the women who've been sold safety instead of truth. This is where we say the things you're not supposed to say out loud. And on record, I am author and this is Cuffed. Most men never get here. Not because they can't, because they won't slow down long enough to see what they actually did. Accountability isn't an apology. It's an inventory. This episode sits inside the trust arc. And if you've been with me since the manipulation and control series, you already know why we're here. Trust doesn't get rebuilt on good intentions. It gets rebuilt on specific, uncomfortable, honest work. Today we're going into accountability and transparency, in that order. Because you can't be transparent about what you haven't first owned. I'll tell you where I am with this. I've done the inventory. I see clearly what I did and how I moved and what it cost. I haven't gone to her yet. That comes in the fall. But I'm not waiting on that conversation to hold myself to account. That part is already done. This is what integration looks like. Not healed, not closed, clear. I'm author. This is Cuffed. 2 musings, 20 minutes. Let's get into it. Today, as I just said, we're covering accountability and transparency. Exactly in that order. 1, because it makes more sense. But 2, musing 96 is accountability. And musing 97 is transparency. Let's jump into the accountability aspect of the podcast because, man, do I have a lot to talk about. If you've been reading the musings, and I hope you have, you read about a dinner. Seems simple at first, but the dinner at the time meant the world to me. Things with Dalatha were not great, and although at the time I couldn't really understand everything that I had done, I think at this time I still believed that my biggest sin was not telling her everything earlier. But at the time I chalked it up to, well, at least I'm telling her. That counts for something. And it's been great up until it hasn't. I've done the small things. I've done this, I've done that. And now I realize that when I started keeping a ledger of what I did and what I didn't do, that there should be a balancing of things, I guess. And looking back now, I see just how utterly fucking ridiculous it is. Because at the end of the day, when I literally told her that her feelings were beyond silly, it was over. But she was nice enough to give me one last dinner. And as I touched on in previous podcasts and musings, I basically came with a laundry list of everything that I had going on in my life. I was anything but accountable. If anything, all I did was just give her a whole list of excuses. I thought they were explanations, but now looking at it, they were nothing but excuses. Because at the end of the day, no matter what I was under and what I was up against, it was all my fault. She didn't know what I was up against because I didn't tell her. That was my decision, not hers. And even with everything that was going on in my personal life, and yes, there was a lot of bad shit going on. It doesn't excuse the fact of how I behaved with her and how I treated her. And now, replaying it, which I've replayed this over in my head millions of times, it's now I want to shake that guy who was sitting there at that dinner and be like, what the fuck are you doing? So all she wanted to hear was, I fucked up. I acted in a way I'm not proud of. You didn't deserve that. And just be there and understand that the reason we're sitting there is because of me. And instead of it being about her and how I hurt her and destroyed any foundation of a relationship, I sat there and talked about myself and everything that I was going through for, I don't even know how much of the conversation, but a large portion of it. And that was it. That was the last time I had seen her, and I got one text message after that basically saying it was a dream until real life came around, and then it wasn't. But she didn't see a committed relationship going forward. And that's when I really knew I fucked up. It didn't crack me open yet, because I was still feeling so many different emotions, anger, sadness, name them. I probably experienced it. And when it really cracked me open was when I sent the summer text message, just basically reaching out and saying, hey, summer's here, hope you're having a good one. That was it. And when she didn't respond to that, that's when it all changed. That's when I knew that there was way more to what I had done than I first realized. And that's when I really turned to writing. And when I started this project, Cuffed, was after that. It was in June. It was a week or two after that. And I started writing. And I mean, obviously, I wish I could go back and treat her the way she deserved to be treated the first time. But she, by going through that and by her holding to her standards, like was one of the things that I always loved about her. And I always thought it was amazing, especially with having two teenage daughters, that having this conversation with about sticking to their standards. But I never would have imagined that a woman sticking to her standards would be the thing that would finally crack me open and get me to finally be accountable for the way that I was acting, what I was doing, what I wasn't doing. And that's what it took, unfortunately. But now I'm here and I see it clearly. And, just looking at accountability and then moving into transparency, that's why this whole series is called The Architecture of Trust. And I hope you're seeing about how interdependent all of these components are with each other. It's like, oh yeah, transparency is great, but if you don't own anything that you actually did, then transparency doesn't really mean anything. Or if you're transparent, but you're not intellectually honest, there you go. That doesn't fucking work either. So that's why I'm so glad to be working through this now, because this was a fundamental change of me and my life. And when I go to her in the fall, it's almost like I almost don't feel like I'm going to be asking for a second chance. It's almost like I'm asking for another first date, because I feel that much different. And the way that I respond to things are that much different. For example, the Threads account that I've worked so hard to build almost crossed over 5,000 followers, was without explanation, without reason, without any previous violations, was just banned this past week. Before, I would have went ballistic. Now, it hurts, but I just picked right back up, didn't complain about it, didn't lash out, and move forward, which I'm extraordinarily proud of myself of. And this is going to move us into transparency. I guess the Threads account and disclosure was transparency. People are probably wondering what happened to the account. Now you know. So let's talk about transparency, because I know for me, transparency was confused very much with honesty. Someone asks you something, you tell them everything. That's transparency. But it's not. It's not at all. And I failed this miserably, especially with Tabitha, because I wasn't transparent. I was the opposite of that. I didn't disclose things when they came up. I managed when information would get to her. And it's really hard to be someone's partner, or to have a partner who isn't transparent with you, because once you start to find out little things on your own, the immediate question that I think all human beings are going to come to is, what else don't I know? If you're not being clear, then all of these suspicions start to creep up. And that's where the real danger of transparency comes in. It's sowing those seeds of doubt with someone that you're trying to build a relationship with. I almost, being a very visual person, I almost view this as like the old cartoons and stuff where somebody's trying to build a house on quicksand. That's what they say it is. You think about it from this way, and this is how I could tell a change, because this even annoys me now. If I was to ask someone a question and they said to me, oh, here's the honest truth, and I could verify that was the honest truth. But I also knew that they were aware of this several weeks ago. Does the fact that they're honest feel great, or does it kind of feel like a half-honest, like the person's being half-honest with me, so it still hurts? Because then for me, the question becomes, why do you not feel you can tell me this when it comes out? Why do I have to get blindsided by it? And now, am I going to always be bracing for another shoe to drop? You could see how damaging this is to the person that's experiencing a lack of transparency. It causes all of these thoughts and curiosities and bad things, really, to pop into somebody's head. And then if you're thinking about how this leads to conflict, it's easy to see how this leads to conflict, right? One person becomes hypervigilant because they don't know what to expect, when to expect it, and they're always walking on eggshells. The other person is going to feel that. Like, why are you always asking me where I'm going? Why are you asking me where I was? Well, because you haven't given them a level of transparency to make them comfortable. You've given them the opposite of that. That's on you. That's not on them. But this is how this becomes such a big sticky mess, is that the lies by omission, the lack of transparency, creates I almost think about it as this negative space that the other person who doesn't have all the information tries to fill. And that's a huge danger. Because that's, as we just walked through it, that's where all the conflicts come from. It's insane to me that it took 40 plus years of my life and losing an amazing woman whom I'm still madly in love with to finally do all this work. I wish I was smarter, to be honest with you. This makes me look really stupid. And rightfully so. I'm not going to argue that. It looks idiotic. It is idiotic. I'll fully admit that. This is some of the stupidest shit I've done in my life. But again, I'm so grateful because where I'm sitting at now, I am so much more proud of the man who sits here today than I am of even the man 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 12 months ago. So much more proud. Well, the standard, stay close.